This is going to be an important video to watch in its entirety because doing this is going to book you 3 to 10 times more calls than not doing this, in my experience. And that is the topic of appointment setting. So obviously I didn't invent the concept of appointment setting, and I would never suggest otherwise. I'm sure it's been around in some form or another for thousands of years. In 2000 BC, I'm sure there was some version of this. But in the context of agency digital marketing, it's really picked up, very big popularity in the last few years. And the reason for that is mostly due to necessity. People just don't book calls the way they used to. They've been burned too many times. There's lots of free information. Whatever the reason is, there's actually interest rates now, not zero interest rates, etc. So people need kind of an urge. And that's why an appointment setter is one of the main conversion mechanisms. So the first thing that I always think people should that no one ever answers is, where do I even get these leads that they're going to be reaching out to? Where does that even come from? So let's just say we are posting a YouTube video like this one. They might go to a page like this, their name, their email, their phone number, their website, their revenue. You have all of the information there that a appointment setter or you or some automations can use to reach out and determine if they are qualified or unqualified. In this case, assuming they filled this in correctly, they're just telling you basically if they're qualified or unqualified because they're putting their website and their monthly revenue in. But there's a couple scenarios. With content, for the YouTube, you're watching this video, you trust me, you want my stuff, I've already shown you that my stuff is good, presumably. If you're watching this video and you've watched a few, you're probably watching these because you like them. But there's other scenarios, like when you're running paid ads to a lead magnet, you really wouldn't ask all of this stuff, because that would just, with content, these leads they're not free. You have to take the time to make content, of course, but you're not paying anything for ad spend. So if they sign up for it, that's great. If not, whatever. But when you're running paid ads and you're actually, spending money that you have to make it work, you probably wouldn't ask for all of these fields. You usually would just ask for the email address. So that presents a different situation than this one, where, we don't know if they're qualified or not. If I put my email address as matt123@gmail.com, I'm on your email list now for sure. That's a start, but that doesn't tell me anything. You don't even know my name or where I'm from or my website or my revenue. So appointment setting in this situation it's not really possible, so to speak. So that is one of the reasons that we have all of these conversion mechanisms right here, because it will help us enrich our data and determine who is qualified and who's not. So now when we have something like this, and let's just pretend I submitted it. I don't want to get my own emails, so just pretend I did. And I'm automatically redirected to basically a school group, as in this is a community funnel. Now to join the school group, you got to give me your name, your phone number, your revenue, your website, etc. So now this is where the data comes from, instead of just having it there to begin with. And when you're appointment setting, you probably use a combination of calling, text message, and email, just so if you don't know that. And it's very impossible almost to set appointments in a way that you're not just going to get a bunch of unqualified calls without all of this other data. So I'm going to go into my group here because this is one I own. I actually restarted this video because I was showing people's personal data and I realized I probably shouldn't do that. But basically, in a school group at least, and it would be the same with a Facebook group, it would be the same with whatever, you can ask them, what is your monthly revenue? What is your 1-year goal? That kind of stuff. And that is a way to enrich the data. Even if you came in with this where you want to reduce the friction for ads, you can still collect the data in the transition from thank you page to email flows. And then you get data for your appointment setter. So that's where the data actually comes from, in the two main scenarios that you would find. One from content, where you can kind of just go for it all right away, and one from Facebook ads or paid ads in general, TikTok ads, Twitter ads, whatever, where you kind of just have to do it one step at a time. Because for context, like having this forms versus just this in terms of your cost per lead, I would expect this to be 3 to 5 times as much as this, just because people, when you're running paid ads, it's not like they are watching the YouTube video you're watching and you clicked on the link in my bio when you want to download this stuff because you kind of know me from the video. Paid ads is very cold traffic where they don't even know your name or company name when they click on the ad in the majority of cases. So there's just 2 scenarios that are important to know. Appointment setter is right here in the funnel, determines whether they're qualified or not, and you can help your appointment setter out quite a bit by just asking for the information that he or she needs. So let's get into appointment setting. Like, what is this? So appointment setting is, as the name suggests, you're trying to set appointments. But what it really means is you're reaching out manually to your leads to try to book a call or to take whatever action you want them to take. In most cases, especially for agency, it's going to be to book a call. So who would be doing this? Either you would be doing this yourself, an appointment setter, which would be an employee or an actual contractor, because people are professional SDRs is another acronym for it, appointment setters. Or you can automate some of it in kind of a workflow. Like for example, when they sign up for this, you could send them a text message after 5 minutes, for example. Like that's a situation where that could be automated. And you're going to get 3 to 10 times more calls than just waiting for people to book on their own. And it makes sense. You're reaching out to them, proving them you're a real company, giving them that nudge rather, and that kind of stuff. So I really want to talk about 2 different scenarios with appointment setting, and this is why the 1000x Leads entire funnel is important. So version A is you have none of the other conversion mechanisms, your webinar, your live workshop, your newsletter, your content, your outreach, your products. And then version B is you have all of them. So version A, all appointment setting communications are strictly to book a call. If they say no, let's keep going here. If they say no, it is kind of over at that point, to be honest. Like if they said no or they didn't reply or whatever, it is in some ways over. That lead in 90% of cases, and there's nothing's 100% all the time, but that lead is kind of gone at this point. Like, what are you going to say to that? You're going to keep following up with them against their wishes? What are you going to do? This leads to 2 problems. The first being it's kind of over if they say no, but the second one is cannot reach out that frequently. It's not like you're going to ask them 2 to 3 times per week if they want to book a call with your company, right? It would be unnatural to do so. Versus when you have all of the other conversion mechanisms, you can do 1/3 or half of them are sales communications, or let's go appointment setting communications. And the other 1/2 to 2/3 are promoting other conversion mechanisms. So this would be like, instead of just saying you want to get on a call, hey, I'm doing a live workshop on Tuesday, or are you reading my newsletter? Like, what do you think of that? Or, check out this YouTube video, or you got to sign up for my webinar, or I have a bunch of templates that you can buy for $10 or something, or, I have this great thing where I'll write your email flows for you, if, unique mechanism or something using AI, and I've had different videos about that and more coming up. So it just, instead of just being a salesperson, you're kind of like helping them in a way, or, at least providing them value, if you can. This gives you a reason to contact them a lot over time. Every time you have a great new YouTube video, every time you're doing a new live workshop, a webinar, like that kind of stuff, even if they're not ready to book a call now, whether that they just can't afford it or they don't trust you or whatever, like you still can reach out to them instead of just it being over in scenario 1. Very easy plus natural to reach out to them 2 to 3 times per week when you have all of these conversion mechanisms set up in this scenario B. Check out my new YouTube video. It's got tons of views. Check out my live workshop. Did you see that thing in my newsletter? Much better, in my opinion, to do this way. And to be honest, every sales trainer, appointment setter trainer, whatever, is going to probably tell you something different. This is what works for me, and I've tried every single thing you could possibly try, in my opinion. So this is just what works the best for me. I like to think of appointment setting as in 2 different parts. So I basically think of it, first, let's go F, 72 hours, like what you do in the first 72 hours after they would sign up for a form like this or join your conversion mechanism. And then basically, let's go ongoing. I think of these things as 2 separate appointment setting flows with 2 separate goals. And I'm going to go into each of them before, right now. I don't know what I'm saying here, right now. So the first 72 hours, this is what I do, and you can kind of do whatever you want. But like I said, this is what works for me. And I prefer to do it this way, so there's 72 hours worth of, promoting my other conversion mechanisms and hopefully getting them warmed up to me before I ever even go for the book a call. So the first thing I do is an automated text message from close.com, which is my CRM, is I send them a link to my YouTube training. So, I'm not going to reveal my exact stuff, but it's going to be oh my gosh, misclick. Hey, it's Matt from 1000X Leads. Saw you signed up for my 12 free trainings. By the way, you definitely don't want to miss this 56 minute, if I can type properly, master agency training on my YouTube channel with the link. Something like that. And that's what you really want to be doing with this if you use this strategy. After 24 hours, I'm going to send them another text. And when I say text here, I do mean email as well. So basically, you're texting them here, send them an email as well, but text message is the more important part because almost everybody is going to see a text message, whether they respond or do anything or not, within 10 minutes of, everybody's on their phone constantly, where it's very easy for an email to get missed or they just don't open it. People open their text messages, and that's the thing. Hey, Matt here from 1000X Leads again. I am doing a live workshop this Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time where I will design an entire marketing funnel from scratch without any notes or prep to show you it's possible, let's just say. Here is the link if you want to sign up, and then you put the link. Something like this. You want to keep the word count, as low as possible in my view, but you got to get your point across as well. So after 48 hours, so 24 hours, basically after the second one, and I kind of made these backwards here because I put my live workshop here, my webinar here. But so let's reverse that. Hi, Matt here from 1000X Leads. Have you seen my webinar going over the 5 main things that will kill a marketing agency and how to solve them? Here is the link. So this is basically what you want to do, because like I said, in this situation, they're coming into my funnel through the community, and it's very important that we get them involved in our ecosystem as much as possible. When they join my community, they're going to be, added to the newsletter by default, added to the appointment setter sequence by default, just in the context of, we have their email and we have their contact information. But we really want to kind of get them to, whether we post with the appointment setter, but we could also post this in the group. The group can have the link to the live workshop to the webinar, to the paid products, to the content, and to the unique mechanism. Like, you can keep posting that over time. And then the appointment setter should do that as well. And this is kind of the reason, even though that's not the topic of this video, that I like the group funnels the best. Because it's very easy to promote other conversion mechanisms from a group, but if they sign up for a webinar, how would you possibly promote products, live workshops, communities, content, and unique mechanisms in a webinar? Like, it's not exactly possible. So that's why I view the group funnel as the cream of the crop, the very best there is, but it's also the worst there is if you don't do it properly. So it's either the best if you do it properly or the worst if you don't. And then your appointment setter works with all of this stuff to hit your goals. Because we need, it's hard to argue, I believe, that if they bought our product, they've seen our webinar, wrong color for the highlight here, or for the pen. They've seen our webinar, they're attended a live workshop, they read our newsletter, they're in our community, they watch our YouTube videos, and they've signed up for our unique mechanism. It's hard to argue, and I don't know how you could logically argue it, that they're less likely to become a customer than not doing any of these things. So that's why it's so important. You can think of it as the more of these things we can get them involved with in our ecosystem, and this is building a real brand instead of just, doing cold email and stuff, they're much more likely to convert into customers, and appointment setting is part of that. So after 72 hours here, so we've basically promoted 3 other conversion mechanisms right away. We've done to our content, which would be our YouTube, because if you have a bunch of YouTube videos, there's definitely no guarantee they've seen this one, the most important one. We've cross-promoted to our webinar and our live workshop. They're in the community, in this case, in this example at least. They're on our newsletter, and our appointment setter has them. So basically, if successful here, and this is kind of like copywriting too, I'll make this better, and better offers, of course. Like, if you hit the nail on the head, 5 main things that will kill a marketing agency and how to solve them, that's a pretty good reason to join that webinar. Same with, I'm doing a live workshop where I'm going to design an entire marketing funnel from scratch without any notes or prep. That's that's good offers. That's what my target audience would want to see, right? But you could make this worse if you incorrectly identify what they want to see. So we basically, assuming we are successful with, getting them to do all that stuff. In this example, they're in the community. Our appointment setter's reaching out to them. They've seen content. They're on our newsletter by default. They're signed up for the webinar and live workshops. Within 72 hours, they're in 6 out of the 8 parts of our ecosystem. And that is that is very strong, very strong. No sugarcoating it or being modest. Very, very strong. So after 72 hours here, this is where I begin to pitch my offer. So, hey there, Matt here from 1000X Leads. I have a program that helps agencies scale within 120 days. You could make this a lot better. This is an example of probably mediocre copywriting. I am going to call you in 15 minutes or whatever you want. It could be 15 minutes within the next hour I have here to give you some details about it. And I like this a lot because it introduces the offer, and hopefully by that time, hopefully they know about the offer already, but it definitely introduces it to them, have a link to a document or a page. And then if I've always had, not exaggerating, 10 to 20 times as many pickups, for calls, if you tell them you're going to call them ahead of time, even if it's 15 to 30 or maybe an hour ahead of time. Very, very important in my opinion, because it's just so much more efficient, because I don't answer my phone personally unless I know who's calling, caller ID. And even if there is caller ID, I don't answer it sometimes. But if someone, texted me saying 15 minutes, I'm going to give you some details about it, and you could even make this better in just 2 minutes. I'm going to call you and give you all the important details in just 2 minutes, etc. And then basically you call them after 15 minutes or whatever you said in the previous step. It says an hour here and 15 minutes, so it's kind of contradictory. But let's just say 15 minutes. And this could be whatever you want, an hour, within an hour, because in some ways it'd be difficult to just call them exactly 15 minutes, especially if you're sending these in mass. So very important. So that is what I do for the first 72 hours, and I really prefer this as opposed to just trying to text them and say get on a call, for the same reasons as you have this entire funnel. If they're going through the entire funnel and they get on a call, if they go through this, let's just say, they've gone through all of this stuff and they somehow get on a call with you, they're, in my view, much, 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 much more likely to convert than if they, just run a paid ad to schedule a call button. And that's the same thing here. Much more likely to book a call if you nurture them ahead of time and get them into your ecosystem. So let's go to the ongoing flow. So basically, like I said before, I separated into the first 72 hours and then just forever after that. And forever, for me, what would that be? Day 4 to day 120. For me, if they don't convert or do anything or whatever, after 120 days, in my view, you could keep following them up, but I just delete them from my CRM. And if they somehow wind up in my CRM after, you can count that as them just renewing their interest. Some people, and I've done this too, might even consider this 90 days with the appointment setter. Let's kind of say 90 days here, because 120 might even be pushing it, even though that's what I do for standard. So what I do is I reach out twice per week. So one would be sales focused, book a call, right? Something like that. And the other one would be cross promotion or sample. So the prospect is in your CRM. They should be tagged in your CRM for every conversion mechanism. So if you're using close.com and someone signed up for your webinar, your live workshop, it is in your group, it should be tagged live workshop, webinar, group, all 3 tags. And that would signify to what your appointment setter, what conversion mechanisms are left. And you want to get them to use the conversion mechanisms that they're not currently using. So if they were tagged community, live workshop, webinar, you might, try to sell them a product. You might, send them to a new YouTube video, a unique mechanism, ask them if they're reading the newsletter, that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean there. So you want to, if they're on those 3 things, in that case, you would want to, do the other ones that aren't doing. But, and this is kind of a caveat, you're always going to be posting more content and doing more live workshops, and you might come out with new webinars and stuff. But eventually, if you do this twice a week for 90 days, you're going to run out of conversion mechanisms to send them to, unless you just keep trying to activate them to the same ones if they're not joining. So after that, another thing you can do that's pretty good is to give them bits and pieces of the service. So for 1,000x leads, I will give them a framework or send them case studies or give them free templates to use or show them stuff, example designs, or whatever of stuff that's included in the 1,000x leads. And this kind of, my hope is, and it works pretty well so far, is it kind of motivates them and, develops trust and just that extra nudge to get them across the finish line. So that's what I do for the ongoing stuff, and that's very good as well. So to recap, appointment setting is so important because you're going to book 3 to 10 times more calls. Appointment setting is going to be way better if you have all your conversion mechanisms there. You want to nail the first 72 hours and get them involved in your ecosystem as much as possible. And ongoing, you're just going to do it twice a week. 1 time sales focus, 1 time cross promotion to other conversion mechanisms. I hope this was a valuable video, and I'll see you in the next one.